We could instead talk about Tyler Lydon, who has apparently made the Sacramento Kings roster.
He made the roster?
He made the roster.
Let's go.
Tyler Lydon, NBA player.
Oh man, we should have done who would be more painful to like just beat the Nuggets with a game winner. Moutier, Lydon, or Lyles?
I mean, it's definitely Moody.
Yeah, it's definitely Moutier.
Welcome to the DNBA Show, a brand new weekly series here at DNVR where we talk about Denver Nuggets basketball, the NBA, and basketball at large. I'm Adam Ottes, this is Brendan Vogt, this is Harrison Wind. Let's get started. First question today, guys. This is the most talented Denver Nuggets team since...
Well, I've seen about 3 Denver Nuggets teams play basketball.
Ooh.
I have no idea. I think this is the most talented team ever, though.
Wow.
Am I wrong, Harrison?
Great insight.
No, you are correct. This is the most talented Nuggets team ever. The two that immediately jumped to mind for me, the 09 team and the 2013 team. The 09 team had the star power, but they didn't have the depth.
Right.
Anthony Carter was playing 20-plus minutes a game off the bench.
Yeah, big piece.
The 2013 team had the depth, still not as much depth as this team has, but didn't have the star power.
Right.
So, yes, this is the most talented Nuggets team.
What about
of all time.
1986?
That was a little bit before my time.
Someone called Jeff Morton.
Yeah, it was a little bit. You know, that was a talented team as well, but I have to agree, guys, this is the most talented team. Mm-hmm. They were this close to going to the Western Conference Finals, which is the furthest the Nuggets have ever made it in their 50-plus year history. This team is returning all those players a little bit better and older and adding some new pieces. I think it's safe to say this is the most talented team in Denver Nuggets history.
Oh, God.
It's a tail. That's a horse. So
Nicole Jokic's horse. Dreamcatcher. Belle Marguerite.
Belle Marguerite.
What's the other one called?
Do that on purpose.
Get out of my head.
What a great horse, though.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal horse.
I wish you could see my hands. I'm trying
Nikola Jokic riding his horse.
Does he have a third horse?
Nikola Jokic in the trotter thing riding his horse.
Yeah, that's what it is. But I kind of want him
In
to
the
finish
saddle.
it.
Dreamcatcher winning a race.
There it is! He got it!
All right, dudes, I have some takes. These are not necessarily my takes, but they're takes. And I want to know if they're hot or they're cold. All right, where you're at with these with the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. will start a game this season. Hot or cold?
Oh, this is an ice cold take. This is an
Wow,
ice cold take.
really?
So, tell Michael Malone that.
I don't know if he'll start a game in the first 3 months of the season, but I definitely think he will start a game before this season ends. My thing about him is look how good he got from game 1 to game 4 of the preseason. I think you could see some tangible progression there. I think that's going to be the case for him over the entire year. Once he gets some playing time, I think he could run with it.
This is a tough one. I don't think it's a hot or a cold take.
Well, you got to choose one. There's only 2 choices.
You know what? I'm going to go hot take.
Okay.
Because first of all, is he going to stay healthy for long enough, for that to play? That's still a real question that he hasn't proven.
Yep.
There's guys in front of him. Is that what they want to do? So I'm going to say it's a hot take, but it's only a little hot take. Little flame, like a little baby.
In our first week of the podcast, we talked a little bit about this roster and how this might be the end of the not skipping steps part. I have a take. This actually is the team that will finish the season, as is right now. No changes.
Ooh, I'll go first on this one. That is a fiery hot take. Fiery hot take. I can't imagine it. The Nuggets have, I think, 7 or 8 guys who could be in contract years. They've got some guys that are great players who are not even going to be in the rotation. I think there's not only would I say there's a trade, I think there's a big trade. Like
Wow.
multiple players.
There's something you're not telling us.
I'm going to go cold take because I feel like we've had this conversation every single season, yet
we mean it this
Denver
time.
still has yet to make that big move that we're talking about. I don't think it's maybe most likely. I think there could be a trade, but I still think there's a better chance than we're giving that they do finish the season with this team. We've seen it before. I think we could see it happen again.
Zero consensus through 2 questions. Will Barton will look closer to 2017-18 himself than last year's version of Will Barton.
You go.
I'll go cold take again because that's what I think will happen. I think last year we'll look back on it as an anomaly in kind of Will Barton's career, and I think he will largely get back to that guy. Will he get all the way back? I don't know. I don't think he's done anything this preseason that says for sure he'll get all the way back, though.
This is an icy cold take. I mean, I think it's a lot more likely than not. He was so bad last year that just like, even if he's worse than he was 2 years ago, I can't imagine he's he'll still be closer to that than what he was last year.
All right, fair enough. You guys are expecting bigger things from Barton than some. The Nuggets finished with I think was the 11th or the 10th ranked defense in the league last year. This year they will finish with a top 8 defense. Hot take, cold take.
God, all of these takes are like they're just good takes. Like,
Thank you.
They're not that hot. You know what? I'm gonna go cold take. I don't think that many things went right for him last year that you would say that eighth was best. And they're gonna get Jeremy Grant to replace Trey Lyles. That's a huge upgrade.
There you go.
Cold take.
That's the reason. This is a cold take because they have Jeremy Grant. They should be a better defensive team. It's really hard to play defense when you're like a young player. Everybody's getting older on this team too. I think there could be some progression there. Also, the margin between the 8th best defense in the league and the 10th best defense in the league is like 0.3 points per 100 possessions.
Good point. You're rejecting the concept that they take a step back, that they were lucky last year. We're rejecting that, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think they can have as good of a defense next year.
I'm with it. Last one, guys. The Denver Nuggets will lose in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Is that a hot take?
Sadly, that is a cold take. I don't think it's that crazy. Now, is it 50-50, 60-40? Yes, of course it's close, but that's not a hot take. It's very possible. The West is loaded.
I want it to go hot, but I'll agree with you. It's a cold take, and the reason why is because the Nuggets, I could see finishing as a top 2 seed in the West. There's a chance out there the Lakers or the Clippers take a lot of the regular season off and suddenly wind up as like a 6 or 7 seed. Look, if the Nuggets lost to the Clippers or the Lakers in the first round, I don't think that'd be a huge shock by any means.
And we'll talk about this more down the line, but there's not a lot of great matchups for them in the West in the playoffs.
Great point. Those weren't great questions, and that is a cold take. A cold take.
Dan Issel. No.
I got nothing so far. That's a tree. The tree that Nikola Jokic danced in.
Well, I mean, he just got it, so.
Damn! Wow. I'm calling shenanigans on that. He got it!
All right, let's look at the main question today, guys. What would make this a successful season for the Denver Nuggets? How are we going to be able to measure whether or not this was a success?
It's tough because that's like the money question of this season. Yeah. And I personally don't think success is going to be measured based on potentially how far they go in the playoffs. It's crazy to say because I could see a scenario where Denver wins the first round, and then the second round they run up against a team like the Clippers or the Lakers or the Rockets. The West is that stacked. And if they were to lose one of those series, would we really say this is a disappointing season?
Are we being too soft on them, though?
I think so. I think there's a chance that they lose this momentum. I think there's such a thing as organizational momentum and momentum within a city, and the Nuggets have it right now. And they've set the bar at championship. I don't think they need to win one, but if they fall short of the Western Conference Finals...
So you're saying if they lose in 7 games to the Lakers or to the Clippers, that's a disappointing season? I'm just not there yet.
I mean, I think you and I and Adam can sit here rationally and talk about why that's not the end, but I do think from the momentum standpoint, the way the fans see this team talks and thinks about themselves, I think you want to keep this train rolling, and they'll view that as a step backwards, whether that's fair or not.
You know, it's not one of those, I think you're looking at it almost in this way of, you know, are they expected to win? They're not going to be expected to win.
Right.
But they are they're on the top floor.
Yeah.
And at the top floor, it's championship or not, and if they go to the Western Conference Finals and lose to the Lakers in Game 7 on a last-second shot, will be a disappointment? No.
Yeah.
You know, you say, they achieved what they have, but they are in the they've put themselves in the situation to be in the championship tier. And
For sure.
For me, I do think, at least in some part, that's how we measure it.
Well, definitely internally. I mean, they got to be thinking, all right, we got to the second round last year. We need to get to the conference finals. Of course, they're thinking championship. That's what they should be thinking internally. But I think they can get better as a team for sure. And then, you know, lose in the second round if that's the bad match.
Or even first, to be honest. I mean, there's so many good teams.
Is there pressure now, though, to skip a step if they fail to move forwards this year? Does the front office feel that? Do the fans apply that pressure? Does someone in Tim's position feel more inclined to make not just the right move, but a move because they failed to keep moving forward?
My belief with this front office has always been if there was that move out there that they truly believed in, and to get a guy that would fit in culturally and would make sense financially, they would pull the trigger to get that deal done. I don't think there's been that guy who's lined up perfectly yet. But my thing has always been if that situation presented itself, I think they would go for it. But you know, I think it would also have to do with how the season would end. You know what would happen in the playoffs? Would it be obvious that they need to make a move, or would the direction be, okay, we can run it back again and still get better.
I think there's also an element of like self-discovery with this team that every year I feel like they find out who they are a little bit more.
Right.
And I think when we talked about where players be traded this year, this is one of the things. I think Denver needs to have a better view of who they are in April than they are right now. And even if that means a loss in the playoffs, going forward into next year, knowing who those guys are, because I think that's been an easy question the last couple years. I think it's a really hard question starting now and certainly going into next summer.
I also think with a lot of teams and definitely a lot of contenders, you have your core guys, and the Nuggets obviously probably put 3 guys into that conversation right now.
Who are they?
Well, probably Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Gary Harris.
Okay.
And then,
I would agree on 2 of those for sure.
Well, Gary Harris probably not in that tier.
They've tried to trade him in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think they view him as an important part, but I don't know that, especially this year. This might be the last year of Gary being that guy.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, you have those guys, and then a lot of contenders out there, you fill in the blanks with, other guys that didn't necessarily come up in your pipeline and whatnot.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I think that could be another step for this team, like identifying who is going to be here long term, and then also just saying to yourself, all right, like, we got to fill in the blanks elsewhere too.
Well, let's move on to the playoffs because I do think that's going to be the easiest way to measure the team. How far do they go? Do they beat last year's? But you mentioned there are some teams that are going to be pretty tough. Brendan, who is the toughest matchup for the Denver Nuggets in the Western of the teams that are likely to go?
I think this gap has shrunk from last year. I still think it might be Houston. And then from there, I would have probably the Clippers and the Lakers and Utah right there as well. But the two, for me, it's Clippers, Utah, or Houston Clippers, I should say. Last year, Houston by a mile. This year, a little less so, probably.
That's tough because I think there's a big 3: Houston, the Clippers, and the Lakers.
Right.
The Lakers are an incredibly tough matchup for the Nuggets. Anthony Davis always goes off against Denver. And yes, they have Jeremy Grant, who can handle Davis better than anybody on this roster could have before.
Sure.
Well, granted, that's not coming from a very high point.
Yeah.
Houston is still going to be an incredibly tough matchup as well.
Yeah.
And, I think all those teams could be in that argument. What do you think?
I think it's the Lakers, and nobody can guard LeBron in the league, but certainly not on Denver's roster. We're talking about Michael Porter Jr. throwing him into the playoff LeBron.
Yeah.
Maybe Will Barton, Torrey Craig. Just none of those guys really match up. And then the pick and roll between LeBron James and Anthony Davis is just going to be one of the best 2-man games, if not the single best 2-man pairing. And you're putting arguably Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic to defend that. It's just they're really strong at the exact point where Denver's weak.
I have a mini hot or cold take question for you. Houston Rockets better matchup now than they were from last season.
Let's go to the tape. You know what?
I'm going to stick with it. Cold take.
We need a better metric, like good take, Brendan. Everything's just bad.
Westbrook's an easier player, I think, to contain for Denver's sake than Chris Paul was, just because he's not going to run as much pick and roll.
Producer Allie, can we save this film footage for when Russell Westbrook drops 50 points on the Denver Nuggets? We could just splice right.
But
through
I agree
that.
with Harrison, actually.
All right, well, let's go the other, and I'll start with you, Harrison. Who is of the likely playoff teams or potential playoff teams? Who is the easiest matchup?
It's the 2 teams the Nuggets played last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is.
Run it back.
Portland and San Antonio. I actually think San Antonio might be a little underrated this year because they got DeJounte Murray. They pretty much got most of those key pieces coming back. But Portland as well, because Portland is not as good of a team this year as they were last year. They lost a couple key pieces, so I'd say those 2.
I'm with you. I think it's Portland. I would say Spurs as well. Important to remember that did not look easy. Went 7.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think they know they're better now, and they are better than Portland this year, flat out.
I think it's Portland, and San Antonio could be tough. They could be easy. They can't score, but Portland to me is the team. Denver's going to be hungry to get back at them, and I just think that this time around, with a healthy Will Barton, with Michael Porter Jr., they have what it takes.
They lost that game 7, but there's no fear. They don't fear Portland. I don't get that sense.
I believe that's an old wooden ship used in the Civil War era.
The state of Tennessee. No.
Good guess. We don't skip steps. We don't skip
Red
steps.
Rocks.
Red Rocks, baby.
The Red Rocks workout.
Yeah, he got it.
Let's go.
Unbelievable.
Too good.
Yeah, actually, maybe I should do these. Eric's too good of an artist.
Yeah.
Like in 8 seconds, he's done a Red Rocks workout.
It might be harder if Harrison and I were blindfolded. We should try that next time.
All right, now we're going to play a little game, Rate the Highlight, where we look at a Denver Nuggets highlight or an NBA highlight, and we tell you, dunk contest style, just how good it was. Fellas, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's line up this first one.
When he was coming out of high school,
Oh my!
This is
I
the
have
highlight
seen it.
that will be shown on Michael Porter Jr.'s
He's
Hall of Fame
heating
induction
up.
video.
He's heating up.
I'm
Ready?
ready.
Go.
Look at that.
8, 9, 10. Wow. All right, Harrison, you got to defend this.
Well, first off, it's his first NBA bucket. Secondly, like how he got into this shot was just so classic MPJ. The hezzy, he puts the defender in the mix. Like every high school mixtape we saw of Michael Porter was doing that move.
He did lose the handle a little bit, and I think he told Nick Cosmatter after the game that's why he resulted in that shot. It looks great. I think MPJ can probably find better looks, but it was super fun. 8 out of 10, not perfect.
Yeah, if he does it again, it's like a 6. But
Yeah.
he did it the first time.
The first time
it's
it's
a
an
9.
8.
We're
Yeah,
putting it
yeah.
up there. All right, let's look at the next one here. Ooh, who's the cameraman on
From
this
the
one?
practice court.
Wow. Who's the camera? Hold on, we got. I think we have a slow-mo version of this. Do we? Whoa. Ooh.
Who needs to sit in the scrum when you can record B-roll?
Ready? Go. 8, 9, 10.
Again, we did not plan this.
You got to defend your
Yeah,
10.
I panicked with 10. It's a 9. It might be an 8. It was in practice. But it's really cool. He's a point guard. He got really high.
Hey, I didn't know Jamal Murray had this in him. He's not like regarded as a high flyer by any means, but this was nice.
Sneaky good hops. He's got
Yeah.
sneaky good hops. Sneaky big hands too. But you know what? The run-of-the-mill reverse dunk. I could do that one.
The pass was good too. I give the pass a 10.
There you go. All right, let's look at the next one.
Joker a little bit.
What do we have here?
Porter Jr.
Oh my! Woo! Nothing but net.
Jr. from the baseline at 6'10". He's got
I'm ready.
athleticism.
Let's
Go.
do it.
We got
Oh, a 10.
8 out of 10. Dang
This
it.
is a fadeaway long 2 that Adam has given a 10 here. How'd we get here?
Well, it's a beautiful fadeaway long two. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but that was some string music on the net. Nothing but net.
Yeah.
Beautiful shot. Degree of difficulty, good like 8.5. Execution of 10. And you know what? The Nuggets don't have anybody that's like that. So we have somebody like that now.
That's why I'm giving it an 8. No one, yeah, they don't have anyone that can
This
create
was an
those points
absolutely
for themselves.
gorgeous shot, but I had to dock little points for the efficiency.
Last one on the docket today, you guys. Let's take a look. What do we have here? Oh, Javon Carter, my guy.
When did
Oh,
he
don't
become
bring
your
that
guy?
in here. Get that out of here. What are you guys thinking? Look at this hops. Look at this timing.
Let's go. Oh, man. I lost mine.
Ready,
Yeah.
set, go. 8, 9, 10.
This is so dumb.
This is really bad.
I do think I'm giving this a 10 because we don't talk about Porter's defense, his length, his potential on that end of the floor. This play kind of demonstrated it.
Yeah, I don't see huge potential on that end of the floor, but you do want to see what
A
you can.
doubter.
But
Wow.
but that's a nice flash from an early MPJ hunting out the block. I give it a 9.
If you rewatch it, I don't know what Javon Carter was doing. I think it was more of a terrible decision by a not very athletic point guard. So I'm only going to give it
Do we
an
have
8.
non-MPJ highlights or no?
That was it, guys. That's the MPJ edition.
All right, I'm giving Adam's highlight selection a 10.
Perfect. Thank you,
You're
man.
very
That was
welcome.
great.
You're
And to
welcome.
everybody else, I hope you enjoyed the show. We've had a lot of fun, and we're going to be doing this every week, talking about Nugget-specific content, a little bit of fun, a little bit of seriousness. We'll be around. I'm Adam Mattis. He's Brennan Vogt. He's Harrison Wind, and we are DNVR.
So hard on New York Denver.
If that audio is captured, Adam saying that, if you can just put that under the outro.